On August 8, 2021, Lionel Messi stood before a room of reporters at the Camp Nou and broke down before he could speak a single word. The scene was confusing because Messi wanted to stay. He had already agreed to cut his salary by 50% to make a new deal possible. Club president Joan Laporta had publicly guaranteed the extension, leaving fans and the player himself convinced that his return was a certainty. Instead, Messi's departure was a mechanical outcome, forced by a wage bill that had finally outgrown the club's ability to pay it. 3 days before the press conference, Barcelona released a cold 2-paragraph statement. It blamed financial and structural obstacles for the sudden collapse of the negotiations. The statement was a shock for a club that only years prior had been a commercial powerhouse, generating nearly €1 billion in annual revenue. To understand why Messi was locked out of his own club, we must look at the 5 years of mismanagement that rotted the foundation. The failure was a multi-year process, built on a foundation that had been decaying long before the gates were locked. The crisis began in 2017 when Neymar left for Paris Saint-Germain. His departure triggered a wave of panic within President Josep Maria Bartomeu's administration. They attempted to replace him by spending over €130 million on Philippe Coutinho. They followed that by spending another €120 million on Antoine Griezmann, prioritizing big names over a coherent long-term sporting strategy. The real damage, however, was in the wage bill. The club handed out massive salaries to these new signings, while simultaneously increasing the pay of their existing veteran players. This chart tracks the breaking point. Barcelona's total salaries hit €671 million, the highest wage bill in the history of sports, far exceeding the recommended 70% revenue threshold. The board was spending as if record-breaking revenue growth was a permanent guarantee. When the pandemic hit in 2020, stadiums were forced to close, instantly erasing nearly €900 million in projected income. While the matchday revenue vanished, the massive short-term debts from the previous years of transfer spending were still due. The financial decay soon reached the pitch. In August 2020, Bayern Munich dismantled Barcelona 8-2 in the Champions League. A post-Bartomeu audit later revealed the full scale of the disaster. The club was carrying €1.35 billion in debt and was technically bankrupt. The global shutdown revealed the structural instability of a foundation already hollowed out by years of overspending. This financial ruin put the club on a collision course with Javier Tebas and La Liga's strict squad cost limit. This equation governed Spanish football. It calculates a limit by subtracting non-sporting expenses from expected revenue. It is a proactive rule. If a club cannot clear the math beforehand, they are blocked from registering players. As revenue plummeted, Barcelona's specific limit dropped from €671 million to just €348 million for the 2021 season. This mechanical formula stripped the administration of any ability to use their prestige as leverage. By the summer of 2021, Joan Laporta realized that even with Messi's 50% pay cut, the club's total wage ratio sat at an illegal 110% of their revenue. La Liga proposed a lifeline, a €2.7 billion injection from a private equity firm named CVC. The deal required Barcelona to mortgage 10% of their television broadcasting rights for the next 50 years. Laporta concluded that keeping Messi was not worth signing away 5 decades of the club's future. He chose the survival of the institution. In the weeks following the announcement, many fans asked why Messi couldn't simply agree to play for free if he loved the club. Because his previous contract had expired in July, La Liga legally and administratively viewed him as a brand new signing. This capacity gauge illustrates the problem. Barcelona's squad cost was already overflowing the league's limit. Even adding a player with a $0 salary would leave the club in violation of the cap. The obstacle was not a lack of effort from the player, but the inescapable mathematics of the club's debt. The finality of the situation became clear as workers began stripping Messi's image from the facade of the Camp Nou. Within a week, Messi was holding a Paris Saint-Germain jersey. In Barcelona, the financial house of cards was finally collapsing. The record shows a club that repeatedly chose immediate results over fiscal sustainability, leading to an inevitable institutional breakdown. The greatest player in the club's history was forced out because an empire chose short-term glory over its own long-term survival.